You stand in front of a heavy bag at the gym. You wind up, you throw everything you have into one perfect punch. The bag barely moves. Now imagine that same punch, except your fist weighs 3,000 pounds and your arm is made of titanium reinforced bone. That is the Hulk. That is what Hollywood sells you every summer. But the real answer is far stranger, and the actual physics are terrifying. Your hand is not a weapon. It is a delicate cluster of 27 bones held together by ligaments that tear under about 25 pounds of lateral force. Your knuckles are not armor. They are rounded joints wrapped in skin that splits open when dragged across concrete at walking speed. Your wrist is a collection of 8 tiny carpal bones arranged like a bag of dice, and when you throw a punch, every single one of them absorbs the recoil. Dr. Ben Oliver, a trauma surgeon at the University of Sheffield, published a study in 2012 tracking actual human punching injuries in real street fights. He found that the most common fracture in unarmed combat is not the jaw of the person getting hit. It is the metacarpal of the person throwing the punch. Your hand breaks before their face does. That is the baseline. That is what happens when a normal human throws a normal punch. Now, multiply that by a factor of roughly 10,000. The Hulk, depending on which comic you read, can bench press over 150 billion tons. That is the mass of a small moon. His fist, traveling at even a modest speed, carries kinetic energy measured in megatons. For context, the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima released about 15 kilotons of energy. One Hulk punch releases more. But here is the part nobody talks about. The Hulk does not float. He stands on the ground, and every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Newton wrote that in 1687. It has not been repealed. When the Hulk punches a tank and sends it flying across a desert, something has to absorb the backward force. That something is the ground beneath his feet. At minimum, a punch with enough energy to flip a 40-ton tank would drive the Hulk knee-deep into solid bedrock. At maximum, the recoil would liquefy the crust beneath him and trigger a localized earthquake. The movies never show this. They show him standing perfectly still on a city street, casually backhanding aliens through buildings, his feet planted like he is posing for a statue. But the actual physics are terrifying. Let us talk about your body for a moment. Your skeleton is made of cortical bone, which has a compressive strength of about 170 megapascals. That sounds impressive until you realize that structural steel handles 250 megapascals without flinching. Your bones are weaker than a parking garage support beam. Your muscles generate force through sarcomeres, microscopic filaments that slide past one another. The strongest human muscle, the masseter in your jaw, can generate about 150 pounds of force. Your quadriceps, the big guns of your legs, top out around 250 pounds in a trained athlete. Now imagine scaling that up. If your muscles produced Hulk-level force, your tendons would snap like wet spaghetti before your fist even reached full extension. Your bones would shatter into gravel. Your joints would disintegrate. You would punch once, and then you would be a puddle of meat and calcium held together by regret. But the undeniable reality remains. The human body is not an engine. It is a compromise. Every system in you is a trade-off between strength and survival. Your bones are hollowish and porous because heavy bones would crush your heart under their own weight. Your muscles have built-in governors that prevent full contraction because a fully unleashed muscle would rip itself off the bone. Your nervous system throttles your output in emergencies because your body knows something your ego does not. Total effort equals total destruction. Dr. E. Paul Zare, a neuroscientist and author of Becoming Batman, has spent decades analyzing the real-world limits of human performance. He points out that even if you could somehow bypass every biological safety mechanism, the material limits of human tissue are fixed. Bone is bone. Tendon is tendon. Collagen does not care how angry you are. You cannot punch through a concrete wall because collagen does not negotiate. And the Hulk, if he existed, would face the same problem at a different scale. Here is the counterintuitive twist. The Hulk is not strong because he is big. He is strong because the laws of physics politely ignore him. In reality, square cube law destroys every giant creature. If you doubled the Hulk's height, his muscle cross-section would quadruple, but his mass would octuple. His bones would need to be impossibly thick to support his weight. His heart would need to be the size of a Volkswagen. His lungs would collapse under their own surface tension. Every giant monster movie ever made is a love letter to ignoring geometry. The Hulk should not be able to walk. He should not be able to stand. He should be a wheezing pile of organ failure, begging for a stretcher. But he punches helicopters out of the sky instead, because fiction has a generous return policy on physics. Now let us bring this back to you. You are not a gamma radiation accident. You are a bag of water and calcium standing on a spinning rock. But your body is still trying to protect you from the same trap. When you get angry, your adrenal glands dump cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream. Your heart rate spikes, your blood vessels constrict, your pain receptors dull. For about 90 seconds, you feel invincible. That is your body's Hulk mode. And it is a lie. Adrenaline does not make you stronger. It makes you reckless. It removes the governors that normally stop you from tearing your own rotator cuff or snapping your own ulna. Every bar fight that ends with a broken hand is a person who believed for one glorious moment that they were the Hulk. They were not. They were just a human who temporarily forgot that collagen does not negotiate. Let us do a quick reality check with some math. A professional heavyweight boxer generates about 5,000 newtons of force in a single punch. That is enough to rattle a skull, break a nose, maybe fracture an orbital bone. Now scale that up to Hulk levels. Conservative estimate, his fist is roughly the size of a beach ball. His arm mass is probably around 400 kilograms. If he swings at 50 meters per second, the kinetic energy is roughly 500 kilojoules. That is the same energy as a stick of dynamite detonating against your ribcage. The shockwave alone would burst your lungs before his knuckles even made contact. The air between his fist and your chest would compress into a plasma sheath. You would not get punched. You would get vaporized by the atmosphere itself. And the Hulk, his hand would be fine. Because in the comics, his skin is invulnerable. But his brain is still inside his skull. And the acceleration required to move a 400-kilogram arm at 50 meters per second would turn his gray matter into a smoothie against the inside of his own forehead. Every punch should give him the world's worst concussion. He should be punch drunk after one swing. Instead, he delivers speeches between uppercuts. This is the real lesson. Superhero physics is not science. It is wish fulfillment with good lighting, and there is nothing wrong with that. But the moment you start believing your body can do what his does, you are one bad decision away from a 6-month cast and a physical therapy bill. Here's the genuinely funny part. If the Hulk followed real physics, his most powerful attack would not be a punch. It would be a sneeze. Think about it. A human sneeze expels air at roughly 100 miles per hour. Scale that up by the Hulk's lung capacity and respiratory pressure. His sneeze would be a Category 5 hurricane concentrated into a 3-foot cone. He would level city blocks every allergy season. Pollen would be a weapon of mass destruction. The Avengers would not need Thanos. They would need Claritin. So what actually happens if you try to punch like the Hulk? Your hand breaks. Your wrist dislocates. Your shoulder separates. You spend 6 weeks explaining to everyone at the barbecue why you thought punching a brick wall was a good idea. And the brick wall, it does not even have a scratch. Because brick does not care about your feelings. And neither does Newton. You stand in front of a heavy bag at the gym. You wind up, you throw everything you have into one perfect punch. The bag barely moves. And now you know why that is the most heroic thing your body will ever do. One mystery down, infinity to go. Tug Tat, the ultimate guide to all things.